Hey everybody, today we're going to be working on some more single views, and we're going to be using some images that create a lot of stuff that we're going to be using the modifications. So when we go through these, they're actually not very hard, but they've got some detail in them. So we're going to start with the stencil. The stencil, when we look at it, if I zoom in, if I go in and put some dimensions on it so y'all can see it, the stencil is 8 inches tall. It looks kind of like a thing where helicopters land, don't it? So see there, it's 8 inches tall. These little blocks here are a 1/2 inch square. The spacing between blocks is 1/4 inch between all of them. There we go. And the size of the big blocks, I'll go ahead and put this half here too so we can see this. So everything is a 1/2 inch. And the big blocks here, of course, they're a 1/2 inch tall, but they are, if I go over here and measure this one, they're all the same size. They're 1.5 inches long, okay? So that's our sizes that we need to know. And this thing works pretty clean. I'll tell you what, I'll move this dimension. Instead of doing that, let's move this one from here down to here. And then I'll dimension this one. And like I said, all of these are the same size. So it's pretty straightforward. Okay? So there's the dimensions for those. And we are 8 inches square all the way around. So it's 8 inches this way also. Drop it in right about there. I'm going to move my wording down just a little bit so it looks nice and clean. This is just for me. This, you don't have to do this. You're not going to be putting any names on it. I just did this so you can see what we're drawing. I will have a drawing out there that shows all of this, so you'll be able to do this, okay? All right, so that's our basic layout. We'll get to the H here in a minute. The H is real simple. Our size on it, if we do individual pieces from here to here, is 1.5 inches, and then 2.5 inches, and then 1.5 inch again. Okay, so that way, that's what we've got. And then our up and down measurements, if we start here to here, we've got 2 1/4, 1.5, and 2 1/4. Now, this is centered on everything else. So I'm not going to give you a dimension for it because that's the way it is in the book. It doesn't give you a dimension. So let's get started with that one. It's actually pretty simple. So let's start with the simplest thing in the world to do is let's get going with down here. Now, you always want to start with a box. If you remember me saying that, we always like to start things with a box. So if I draw an 8 inch box, I'm going to do an 8 inch horizontal, an 8 inch vertical. And of course, I did them backwards from what I said. And then I'm going to finish my box off. I'm using the polar tracking and object tracking to get the right size. So there's that. Now we could lay everything else out and do all these corners and things and get it in the right place, and that would work out great. But by the time you got done, you would have a bunch of lines going everywhere. So sometimes in AutoCAD, it's not as easy to draw with a box as you would think. So what I'm going to do instead of doing that is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to just start with one of the little boxes. So all that being said, I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. So now I'm going to back up. I'm going to come back in. I'm just starting directly below this just so I'll be in line with it. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to, when I do this, I'm going to start with that bottom box. And we said that it was a 1/2 inch wide. Now we can zoom in. It's a 1/2 inch tall. I can hover over that corner, drag up, and then drag back down. There we go. Pretty straightforward on that, okay? Then we've got a 1/4 inch spacing. Now there's two ways I can do that. I can do offset, tell it my distance of 1/4, click and drag up, and start from there. Or I can start with line, hover here, don't click, drag up and type in 0.25, and then start drawing my box. Okay, these are 1 inch and 1/4 a piece, and we're going to go back and check it and make sure that's right because they may be 1.5 inches. Zoom out, zoom back in. They are 1.5 inches. So we need to fix that. So look, I drew this 1 1/4 inches long. See, I can check that measurement right here. So from here to here, look, 1 1/4 inches. So I could erase this and fix it. I could do this. I could delete that, stretch this out 0.25 more, stretch this out 0.25 more, and then put my measurement back on it. I didn't have to delete the line if I didn't want to. I could do this. I could have just done click and grab the middle grip and go up 0.25, and then use the extend command. And then look what it says, select object as far as my boundary edge. See right here, select boundary edge, and that is my boundary edge. Now I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm going to click on this line and click on this line and make them the right length. The other way of fixing it is this, and this is the command that does it all in one. This is called stretch. You always have to start at the right and come to the left with your box. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to drag down and across because I want the top corner. The horizontal line is completely in the box. The other two I am touching. So that means it's going to select all of them. And that's perfect. That's what I want. Now I'm going to hit enter. Now it says specify base point. Again, y'all see me do this before. I can click on an endpoint if I want to and go up, or I can get out here in space. It don't matter. Most of the time I get out here in space and make sure I drag straight up because we don't want angles. See there? So straight up and type in 0.25. And that'll make it the right length. So there we go. It's just that simple on that. So now let's go back and look at this. We've got the two bottom boxes drawn. Then there's two more just like it, and another one up here at the top. So here's something that I can do that really works well. Watch this. I'm going to use a command. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit tighter so we can see what I'm working on. Here we go. I'm going to use a command called mirror, and you've seen me use this before. And I'm going to mirror the bottom box, the little bitty one. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to get the midpoint of that vertical line because that's halfway from where I want it. I'm going to drag out horizontal, click, and say no, don't get rid of the source object. So there we go. Pretty clean and straightforward. Now notice something. So I've got here, here, and here. What I've got left is another long, another short, another long, and another short. Here's where copy comes in handy. I'm going to go to copy, and I'm going to copy the long and short box. There we go. Now where's my base point? Well look, if I click on the bottom corner and then go to the bottom corner of this box, and then the bottom corner of that box, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is. Okay, I'm going to move this down a little bit so y'all can see it. Okay, so there's that side completely done. How about that? And I just used mirror and copy to get there. Now, I want to have one just exactly like it over here, here, and here. So how am I going to do that? Well, here's a really neat trick. You're going to love this. I'm going to go back into mirror. I'm going to get everything but the top box. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click on either this corner or this corner of the top box. And I'm going to drag down at a 45-degree angle. If we've got that object snap and tracking set to 45, we're good to go. I'm going to click. No, I don't want to get rid of the source object. There we go. Just that simple. Pretty cool, huh? Now we can go through the very same process here. Mirror, select objects. I'm going to get everything here except the end box because I've already got a box here. Hit enter. Midpoint of that line, drag straight out. Click. Say no. And then I'm going to need to do the same thing over here. And here's where you just got to be careful. Make sure you get the lines you want. All we need are these because we've already got our two endpoints. Okay. Hit enter. Midpoint. Drag straight down and say no. Look at that. That quick. There's that. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to lay out the H. Well, the easiest way to do that, and by the way, y'all, I've got this in dimensions. I'm going to change it real quick to object. Okay. There we go. So now we got it right. So now I'm going to go line. I'm going to put a line dead center vertical. Okay? Dead center vertical. Because here's the reason why. 2.5 inches, 1.5, 1.5. All right, so what's half of 2.5? Half of 2 is 1. Half of a half is a quarter. So offset 1.25, 1 1/4. There's those two lines. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that line. I don't need it anymore. Okay? Now, these are 1.5 inches away from those. Offset, give it your distance, 1.5, click and out, click and out. There we go. Okay, pretty neat. Now our up and down measurements is 1.5 in the middle, then 2 1/4 on each side. Okay, so I'm going to draw me a line. This time instead of coming all over here, I'm just going to start on the edge of the H because that's really all I need. Okay, I could have started right here and it would have been even cleaner. Let's do that. Let's escape and do line. Let's do the middle of there to the middle of there. Okay, either way I would have to have it cause of the top. It doesn't matter. Okay, I'll put it back the way I had it the first time. Here we go. So there, you can start on the outer edges of those H lines. So now, what is half of 1 1/2? Well, half of 1 is a half. Half of a half is a quarter. So I've got $50 in my hand, and I've got a quarter in my other hand, and I put it all together. There's 3/4. Hey, 3/4, 0.75. Okay, so offset 0.75 and enter. Click on that line up, and while I'm here, click on that line and go down. There we go. And then we need 2 1/4 from there. So I'm going to go back into offset, make sure it says distance. And we want to do that quick. I forgot my number, 2 1/4. 2.25. There we go. 2 1/4 up, 2 1/4 down. There we go. Let's get rid of that line because we don't need it at all anymore. Now let's do some trimming. So I'm going to go to trim, and I'm going to select all. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. Anything inside the less than or greater than signs, select all. Okay, and watch what I can do now. I'm going to come all the way over here. I'm going to click, come back across all 4 of those lines at the top. Look how clean. Click and drag down. How about that? Same thing here. Click here. Go all the way across and get those. Get rid of that. Now I need to get rid of these 2, and these 2. And there it is. There's our stencil. Pretty easy, right? So that went real well. Pretty quick. So now let's start on our checkerboard. Now our checkerboard is 6 1/2 inches square. I'm not going to put any dimensions on this one just for the sheer fact that it's in the notes that I gave you. Okay, it'll be on the PDF file. So I'm going to start with the box, and I'm going to draw it off the bottom corner of this just to be consistent. I'm going to come over about 4 inches to start that drawing. So this box, like I said, is 6 1/2. I think I said 6 1/4. 6 1/2 there, 6 1/2 there. And I'm just going to go ahead and type in the numbers all the way around this time. Okay, there we go, 6 1/2. Now that border is set in 1/4 inch. Now, if I had done this as a poly line, it would have been a lot easier because I wouldn't have to do all the trim. See, if I go to offset here and say 0.25 and do this, look, those 2 lines cross, and I've got to clean that up, and it'll do the same thing on the other 3 corners. So if I undo the whole thing, now let's use polyline instead. And again, I'm just going to pick you don't have to pick an exact place to start. Just be close. I usually leave about 4 inches between the views. So now, 6.5. 6.5, 6.5, and then back down. Now, why is that nice? Watch what happens here. When I go to offset, I give it 0.25 as my distance. Click and come in. Look, I got the whole box. That's why that's nice. Okay? So that just saves me a little bit of time. And now the good part is I've got to put squares in, and they're 3/4 inch squares each way. So the easiest thing to do is go to line, hover on this corner, and drag in and type in 0.75 as our first point. And then go all the way to the top. And I'm going to do the exact same thing here. Hover, drag up, 0.75, and drag all the way across, and click. There we go. Okay? So that's really all I need to start, because watch, copy. I'm going to copy my vertical. I'm going to start on this end point. I'm going to go to that point, 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 and to that point. Now I'm going to do the vertical. Click on that one. Start down here at the bottom. Up, up. I'm hitting the end point every time. I'm getting that square every time. Or an X, one of the two. Okay, there we go. So there's our checkerboard. Now we want to make it look like a checkerboard. So we're going to put a little pattern in these, and it's going to be an alternating pattern. So what I want to do is I want a line. I want to hover here, and I want to drag over, and I want to give it 1/8 of an inch. Okay, 1/8 of an inch. I can either do 1/8, or if I know my decimals, 0.125. Either one's fine. So there's my first point. Now I'm going to drag down. There we go. Now I'm going to use copy again. Copy that line and hit enter. Now I want to start from this end point. See where I'm at? And now I'm going to go to that end point, and that end point, and that end point, and that end point. And there it is. So now what do? Well, I'm going to use copy again. And this time I'm going to get all of them. Okay, there we go. I selected them all. Now watch what I do. Click on the edge of the box, skip a box, skip a box, and skip a box. How about that? Now I need the other ones, and y'all know how it is. They alternate. So these will be the ones here. So I'm going to copy again. And watch what I do to get this copy. If I start in here and don't get the end point of this line, I'm going to start right there. I'm doing a blue box going to the right. Notice the only thing it picks, see how they highlight? The only thing it picks is those lines. So I'm going to hit my enter button on my left mouse button. That selected all of those lines. Now I'm going to hit enter. And now watch. I'm going to use the bottom corner. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see this. We use the bottom corner of that box, and I'm going to go diagonal here, 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 and here. And that drawing's done. Tell me that isn't neat. That goes really fast when you know how to use offsets and how to use copies, right? Okay, let's do another one. This one's going to be a rotate. Going to have rotate involved in it, okay? So this one, when we get it started, again, it's a fairly simple drawing. It's a 5" by 8" box. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to use my polyline again because I know I need littler boxes inside. Okay, so I'm going to come over about 4 inches, 8 inches wide, 5 inches tall. I can hover and just drag up and click then and drag back down. That works great. Okay, the first inset is 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go offset 0.25, click and come in. The second one is 1/8 inch. Offset, notice I zoomed in. Give it a new distance, 0.125 or 1/8, and come in again. There we go. There's our frame. Okay. So now we got to draw, see the arrow? We got to draw the arrow. So how are we going to start that? Well, that arrow is 6 inches long total. And it is centered. Notice it doesn't give us a dimension up and down. If it doesn't give us one, we know that it's centered. Okay. So I'm going to go, and I did it again. Y'all look, I was still in my dimension layer. I want to make sure everything is in object layer. Y'all need to be really careful with that. It's easy to change. All you got to do is click on it and change everything. But now look, it went back to dimensions here. Now that I got a clean command line, make sure you're drawing in the correct layer. But it is easy to fix. Okay? So I'm going to do a line. I'm going to start from the center here, and I'm going to go all the way to here. Okay? So there we go. We know it's centered end to end, and it's centered up and down. Well, that got me centered up and down by doing that because I started in the middle and went to the middle. Now, it's 6 inches long. I'm going to go to line. I'm going to hover right here, and I'm going to drag back this way, and I'm going to say 3 because that arrow is 6 inches long. Now, I'm in the middle, so I only need half the width of that arrow, and that arrow is 1 inch wide, so I'm going to say 0.5. Oh, no, look, my line's crooked because I moved my cursor. Just come down here in the line command and click on undo. Vertical, now 0.5. There we go. And now I can click on this and grab the grip and drag it down 0.5 more. There we go. So like we said, it's 6 inches long. So now I'm going to go line. Now watch this. I'm going to hover here. I am not clicking. I'm going to drag and I'm going to type in 6 and enter. That's 6 inches away. That's exactly what I want. Now, how long does it say the sides of those arrows are? They're 2 1/4. Well, believe it or not, I'm going to come back out this line and I'm going to type in 2.25, 2 1/4. The other thing that I could have typed in is 2-1/4, 2 1/4. Same thing. Okay, so there. You can see I've got 2 lines laying on top of each other. So our new command that we're going to use now is rotate. I'm going to do rotate. And the object that I want to rotate, if I'm real careful, see how I can get that one? I can click on it by itself, or I can put a blue window around it. The only thing I can't do is put a green window around it because it selects everything. So again, rotate. Grab the line you need and hit enter. Now, this is my rotate point because this is the end of my arrow. So now if you notice, that angle says it's 60 degrees, but that's the whole thing. Look, the arrows go from both ends, both sides of the arrow. So we only need half that. So we're going to go 30 degrees. There it is. Cool. Now let's mirror that. Click on that line and hit enter. We can just do it from the end point and drag straight out horizontal. It doesn't matter if it's to the left or to the right. And no, we don't want to get rid of the source object. So there's the head of our arrow. Okay, doing pretty good. So now I'm going to get rid of that line because I really don't need it anymore. Now I'm going to go to line. And what I need to look at now is what happens here. Well, I don't have a measurement back in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw me a line out, and I'm going to make it extra long. Okay, I'm going to come all the way up into there and get it where I want it. Okay, so there we go. Got it where I want it. Now I'm going to draw me a line, and I'm going to make it really long. Okay. I'm just going to click. And now I'm going to rotate that one. So I'm going to pick this as my object, hit enter. Now I'm going to click here, and this one is 60 degrees from horizontal. 60 from horizontal. What would that be? I'm doing it from the vertical line, see? So that would be 30 degrees. There it is. Okay? Because you got to realize, are you working from the 0 or are you working from the other? Now notice what I'm doing here. I'm just grabbing these two lines, and instead of using the trim, which I could use, I'm just dragging them back to each other. There's half of it. Now I'm going to use mirror again. I'm going to pick both these lines and hit enter. I can use the point of the arrow again because it's dead center. Drag straight back and click somewhere. And no, I don't want to get rid of my source object. There's another one done. That quick. Okay, so here's the last one. If you notice, Bry's name is in this one. What it says on the drawing in the book, and what I'm going to give you, it actually says your, oh no, what's that mess? I didn't have my cap lock on. Your name is what it says in there, okay? So we're going to put this, and we're going to end up putting your name in this. So let's look at this box real quick. This box, the numbers that it gives us is out to the centers of the circles, but if you notice, they line up with the edge of the box also, okay? So that 8 inch is really, really, really important. And the 4.5 does the exact same thing. So let's draw a box, okay? And it would be good if we had an offset. So let's go ahead and use polyline again. So again, I'm going to hover, I'm going to drag out, I'm going to start about 4 inches over. I'm going to make it 8 inches wide. I'm going to make it 4.5 inches tall. I'm going to close it off. Click, click. There we go. Okay, so there's that box. Pretty simple, right? Okay. Now, the inner box here, this one, if you notice what we've got, it says it's 2.5 on the side, and it says 6 on the bottom. Well, 6 from 8 is 1 inch, 2.5 from 4.5 is 1 inch. So what we've got is it's a 1/2 inch in. I'm sorry, it's 2 inches in each way. So it's 1 inch each way. So I can do offset and do 1 inch. And it'll bring it in 1 inch in every direction. Watch, click and come in. There it is. So there's that middle box already done. No problem. Okay? Now what I need to do is I need to put my curves on here. Well, those circles are centered right on them corners. So I'm going to go to circle. Now, if you're in center radius and you click here and you go, okay, and you go, oh no, it's doing radius. See down here it says radius, but I can click right here and say, no, I'll change that to diameter. So I'm going to change it to diameter, and that radius, that diameter, if you look at the top of the drawing, it says 0.625 DIA, 4 holes. DIA means diameter, and there's 4 of them. We know where they're at. 0.625, enter. There we go. So again, copy. Now, let's don't copy this yet. Let's wait and let's do some more work. Okay? So how big is the big corners here? Well, if you look up here in this corner here, you notice it says 0.75 radius. So we'll go back into radius. We'll zoom in here, click and drag out. Now we are doing radius, 0.75. There we go. All we got to do. Pretty easy, huh? So that kind of cleans up everything we need. Now what we can do is we can use a command called fillet. And this is a fun little command to use, okay? So we're going to go to fillet. And we notice that, see that 0.563 radius? We're going to type that in. And it's actually 0.5675 is what it is. But we're going to go 0.563 today just to keep it easy. Okay? And now we're going to click here and click on the circle. Oh no, it don't want to do that. It don't want to do that. So what do? Oh, here's where we got to use the explode. So let's just put a box around everything and explode everything. There we go. Now let's go back to fillet. Hey, it remembered my number. Cool. Click, click. All right, check that out. Hit enter. It should remember your number. Click, click. That is so cool, isn't it? So we've got it right there. Pretty easy, okay? Now, we still got to clean this up. I just wanted to go ahead and show you that. We're going to have to do the fillets on all the corners, but watch. I'm going to go to mirror again, just like we did before. We'll copy those circles. Center of any line, click and say no, save it. Same thing again. Get both of them this time. Center of any line, vertical. Drop them down and say no. There we go. Now let's go back to our fillet. It should have remembered our distance, and it did right there. Click, click, enter. Takes us right back into the command. Enter. Takes us right back in. Look how easy. And all I'm doing is clicking and going right back into the command. The right mouse click will get me right back into the command. So there it is. Now all I need to do is trim and hit enter for select all. Get rid of these 4 things. There's my box. The only thing I've got left is your name. How am I going to do that? Well, watch this. You've got up here, you've got a big A like this, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to hit the drop down. We're going to hit single line text, okay? And we're going to come down here. Notice it says justify and style. We're going to hit justify, and we're going to tell it middle. I'm going to hover here and drag across. I'm going to hover here and drag down. And look, there's my X. I'm going to click right there. Now it says angle of text 0. Hit enter. Now make sure your cap lock is on. And like my name is Darren, D-A-R-O-N. Oh no, my cap lock wasn't on. D-A-R-O-N. There's my name. Click off of it one time, right click, and say cancel. Now look how little it is. So when I get that put in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this bigger. I'm going to go to the scale button. Okay, I'm going to hit scale. It says select objects. Okay, there, I'm going to select my name. Okay, where do I want to scale from? Well, I'm going to hover and drag down. I'm going to hover and drag across, and I want to get that cross. Right there is where I want. Now I'm going to tell it, let's zoom out. That looks like it's probably about 4 times bigger. Oh, it's actually 5 times bigger. So let's do it again. Okay, so scale, select your object, hover at the middle and drag down a little ways. Now hover at the middle here and drag over a little ways and come over till they cross. Now say 5. Hey, look at that. So there's all 4 of those done. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So you shouldn't have any trouble getting these done. I do want you to put your name in the middle of this. Watch this video as many times as you need and enjoy this. This is going to be a lot of fun this week. Have a great day, guys.